Hello everyone, how you doing today? Thought I'd just do a quick update here, show you what I got going on and what I've had a chance to work on, which was pretty limited this week, I will admit. I did get more done here though with the Skaar Tank. In fact, it's about done. I needs a final detail level and things like that. Um, I wanted to cover a few questions that were brought up in comments too about it. But first, let's just take a quick look inside. So the interior is pretty much fully finished. Short of I might add a little bit of more decorative stuff or something like that in here. I got some plain areas up over there. I upped the storage on it some. So the ammo bay went from 8K to 9.5K. The harvest bay went from 8K to 11K. I did leave the storage. Now, a comment brought up something that makes good sense. Is why even have a storage bay when you can put all the goods that are in here into the harvest bay? And you know what? That's a very good point. And I think I answered that too, where it's like, well, I guess I'm used to it. I guess I always was a little concerned that maybe someday there'll be a patch that says you can't, the only thing that can go in harvest bays are harvest products, like ore or, logs or something like that. Or, but, that I got no information saying that's actually going to happen. I kind of makes sense. I guess kind of assumed maybe that would happen, but it's never been talked about, or I don't believe ever seen anything saying that that would be the case. In this case, I've already got all this stuff in place, and I don't necessarily want to try to rip it all to shreds again, so I can add in or merge this to that. It wouldn't be that hard to do though. If I really wanted to, I could increase the harvest bay even more and cut the storage bay. I'll think about it. I'm not sure if I want to do that or not, though. I do still do kind of like the separation there, but I get the point, and I will consider that on future builds for sure. Another thing was brought up too, and it had to do with RCS. Now I've got 8 RCS on this tank right now, and a comment was brought up that RCS chew up CPU and why are you using RCS on this? Well, typically I'm fighting CPU on most builds, and most new builds don't have RCS at all. I rely on the thruster placement for that thing and save the CPU with not having the RCS. In this case, I've got more CPU available, and I still do. Even with the 8 RCS that I've got on here, it's only at like 91,740 here on CPU. And this is complete. I've got all the pieces in this thing already, so nothing else technically is taking up any CPU, or if it does, it's very little, a couple blocks here and there, or something like that. So, I mean, I could the point of putting some RCS in here is because, well, first I've got the CPU available, and number two, I want this to perform the best I can get it to perform for being a heavy combat steel tank with lots of layers and things like that. So I might even put in some more RCS in it, because why not? Now one thing in the game I'm not seeing, as I heard about before, that if you're under CPU, you get a bonus for that. I need to check that out more thoroughly, but I'm not seeing any indication of getting any bonus for being under CPU. Maybe that is true, but even here it just says, hey, my efficiency level is 100%. It doesn't say I'm at 110% efficiency, because I'm lower on CPU. So I guess I'm a little confused at that. I'm not sure if that actually, I heard it talked about, but I'm not sure if that actually made it into the game where under CPU gives the existing parts a bonus or something like that. If that was the case, then yeah, I could see not having the RCS. But if it's not the case, I'd rather make this as agile as I possibly can with the CPU I have. And that kind of comes to that point. Other things that I did do in here too is another comment was brought up about leaving like a gap barrier between armored walls. because obviously the more combat steel blocks you add, the heavier it's going to be and the slower it's going to move. So I took advantage of that a little bit up here, and what I did is I cleared out this row over here. So we've got, like on the front of the tank here, there's no critical parts whatsoever. I mean, there's some thrusters and some guns and stuff, of course, embedded in here, but it's all just combat steel in this whole area. But what I did is once it got back to here, I just left an open gap, and then you got another combat steel block here. And technically, before you would actually take any critical damage or damage to the pilot, there's yet another combat steel block wall here. In fact, this whole area is shielded by, this is all combat steel over here, and some more layers on the top as well. Now, some things that I have done too is I moved some generators in closer to the inside of the tank, and I also took the CPU blocks that used to be in the ceiling. Well, they were higher in the ceiling. I took 2 of them and moved them down. I took 2 more and put them actually in the secure cockpit over here. When you take a look through these walls here too, they are quite thick. And the sides usually shouldn't take the brunt of the damage. Now what I've also done too is the top of this is quite thick as well. If you take a look at all the stuff that's above you, it's quite a bit up here to destroy before it actually is going to get to the player. And the player is actually even, you know, I'm a little weak right here though, ain't I? Still looking at some of this stuff. Maybe it's a couple layers there, but still I think it is the by far the toughest tank I've come up with yet. And it still could be a little bit bigger and a little bit more thrusty, I guess you could say. I need to field test this yet too, but right now it is with it fully complete. Now granted, I'm in creative with no weight here, but it is still pretty maneuverable. Now it has a pretty good strafing thrust, forward thrust. The turning I wish was better. Now if I just hold down the arrow key, this is my maximum turning speed. And it's not too bad for a tank this size. Now, would adding more RCS to this make it turn faster? That's an experiment I'm going to have to find out. Or I kind of wanted to like cut the RCS in here and then make another version with, say, 16 to 20 RCS just for testing to see if this improves or anything else improves from having a bunch of RCS in here. But it is still very, very maneuverable. It can kind of pull up and easily climb mountains and stuff like that if you're angled correctly. Even if I come to a dead stop on a cliff wall, has plenty of power to keep on getting up there. So, and that's what I wanted. I do like the agility and maneuverability, especially on something like this. I think it's important. Strafing's important. That's why I put such an emphasis on the strafing thrusters, things like that. It's like if you want to change directions really quickly like that, when you're shooting at a POI, you got the control to do that and whatnot. Oops. Wrong button. There we go. Still wrong button. Okay. So this I'm planning on just working on a little bit more final tweaks and things like that. Give it some field testing and release it probably this Sunday. Now beyond that, RhodeKill has updated his POI that he's been working on. It's looking amazing. Don't mind these blocks here. These will not be visible in game. It has to do with when it's spawned in game, this is kind of invisible layers, so it can have an underground. And now this base actually does have a whole lower floor that's getting built out here as well. So it's going to be a pretty good sized POI. And yeah, I'm looking forward to play testing this one and running through it. It looks pretty interesting. I don't want to. Obviously, it's not completely finished at where it sits here, but it's well on its way. Now I know Scarlet's been working on a bunch of POI related things and some Kriel stuff as well. They're not ready to show yet, but once he gives me the okay and feels they're ready to show, I'll try to get that out there. And on POIs on my own, I do want to get this one finished up too. This was one of my more favorite Kriel POIs, and I think it's potentially an interesting layout inside too. But I gotta keep on hammering away at this thing. It's been on the back burner for a while now. A lot of that had to do with the space carrier, and of course I keep on working on these challenge things and trying to expand out the Skaar race a lot. Now, future projects. Obviously, I got a Kriel space station I need to take a look at as well. I really do have the desire to try to get back to a modular construction type of space station thing again. I messed with it before some, and I learned a few lessons while doing that, and I think I could improve on the scaling and how expensive it was versus the parts. Doing another round on that. And what I really need to start focusing on now that I've started to get some HVs going here is I need to focus on some SVs, especially for the Skaar. But I mean, quite frankly, most of the SVs I've got right now are kind of dated. I mean, the humans got some valid ones. The MCRN's kind of lacking on SVs. There's no SVs for the MCRN that I have built that are worthy to take on tough POIs or anything like that. So they need something too. The Skaar need any kind of SV. Plus, there's new options with SVs. You know, you can add miners to SVs and minigun turrets now and stuff. So I definitely want to get into that. Now, also Excalibur's challenge is to build a Tier 1 CV. I haven't begun on that. Keep on thinking about what I actually want to do for it, and I've got an idea in mind. I'll have to try out. I don't know if it's going to work out. Tier 1 for capital vessels is pretty low on available CPU, so functions and things that you can put on it is going to be very limited. And its size as well. So I'm thinking about just making a CV that can move other stuff that's really cheap. Don't even know if I'll be able to get a warp drive on it because that might kill the CPU there too. So I don't know. Again, back in the day, unless it was a specialized CV to do mining or something, I never had the desire to build a Tier 1 CV. It's just for a starter CV at least, unless it's specialized on something. But I'd rather save up and have a Tier 2 that can do the storage and the farm and the crafting and some defense and all that, which you can pull off at Tier 2, but you certainly can't do that at Tier 1. And if you try to make it all upgradable, well, then I mean, just the block work alone is probably going to make the thing not too big to be a valid Tier 1. I don't know. I'll have to mess with it. Again, I never tried, so I don't exactly know how it's going to come out. I know other people are making some Tier 1 CVs. They're usually really, really small and more specific on a function. I do think I am finished with this Tyke miner. I'll send this over to T-Rex and see what he thinks as well. It works good, actually. I'd say probably the best overall working miner I've got. This would, again, since I've updated the blueprint, this one again works, and this was my favorite. This one is cheap though, so I mean, in gameplay, depending on resources, this does get the mining job done, and the cost on it is quite low for a miner. At a 27-minute build time and just nothing special needed to build it at all. So that is the point on this one. That's it's still my go-to miner, but if I had the resources, this one outperforms it, can hold a little bit more, and at a full load, of 16K harvest plus another 2K regular storage, it doesn't slow down much. It doesn't have weight issues. It just keeps trucking, and it's and because it's just that much more powerful than this one is. It's got bigger thrusters and more hover engines and everything else to make it do more stuff quicker. It doesn't hold that much more. This one's at 13,875, where this one's at 16 plus 2, so about 18. So it's not a huge bonus there, but it's just when this one's fully loaded, it does slow down quite a bit. This one doesn't slow down near as much, which I think is beneficial as well. So I will talk to T-Rex on that, and this thing is just cool too. I got to see his updated version. I know he is working on this, and it's this is a work in progress here too. You can see a lot of untextured stuff and whatnot. So I am excited to see the final updated version of this, and then hopefully have a nice little miner that can park right up there and work with it. But that's about all I've got for today. Little weak, I know. We'll see what I can get done over the weekend, and I'll probably start on Excalibur's challenge here pretty soon, and I probably start on a SV as well. I want to take advantage of some new things with SVs. And pretty soon too, after probably, I might even do it with the release of the tank, is to spin off the Skaar, get it out of the military survival series and make its own collection. Something I've been meaning to do. I just wanted to have enough things to initially dump in the collection, and I think I pretty much do at this point in time. And I do got to get these other things released too. So yeah, lots of releases in the near future. So anyway, you all have yourself a good weekend. Oh, last thing too, check in with what I was talking about on the last video with my dad. He's in the hospital yet. He has a blood infection. They've been giving a lot of antibiotics for that. They last night, I don't have the results yet, but they did a MRI on him to try to figure out exactly what's causing that. But originally it was thought that he had COVID, as he had all the symptoms of that. And even the doctors thought he had COVID. After the first test came negative, they retested him because they didn't believe it. But no, it wasn't the case. Really happy for that. That would have not been good. Not that he's out of the woods yet, but I think whatever's going on now is definitely treatable. It's just they got to figure out exactly what's causing the infection that he's got. And he's been feeling a whole lot better too. So talked to him on the phone yesterday again, and he's doing all right. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Well, you all have yourself a good weekend. I will see you later.